Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is Ship Updates. Now, some big news this week, and I picked up on something that I may have missed earlier, but I guess maybe myself and other people may have missed it as well. Some unfortunate news, but we'll get to that in a second. But the big news this week, of course, is the Xi'an Nox, the later confirmed to be a space bike, brand new Xi'an ship / ground vehicle that we are, it looks like, probably going to be getting with 3.0. And initially, a lot of us wanted to see what was going on with this vehicle, and we were greeted with the clearance level ultra screen, which most of us didn't actually have. And so that was less than awesome. And at this point, you'd probably expect me to editorialize on that, but instead, I am going to applaud the Star Citizen Reddit community, whoever had access to that clearance level ultra immediately disseminated pictures of what was behind that little paywall so that the rest of us could see it. And so that was completely awesome. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, what this looks like to me is a thruster, part of, a larger space bike. Now, we had heard of a space bike in development. Chris Smith had hinted at the fact back in, I believe, January, that he was concepting out a brand new space bike, and this appears to be the fruits of that labor. And once again, apparently we found out that it is very likely to be part of the 3.0 release. So this is going to be a concept vehicle that you buy, and possibly 3 or 4 weeks later, you could be driving it around on a planet or flying it through space. So something very unique and something to be very excited about. And of course, the price point at $40 makes it a pretty decent LTI chit to hold on to in case you want to cash that in later and upgrade to a better ship. Now, you might be looking at the Dragonfly and thinking, well, the Dragonfly was sold last June and we still haven't, ridden it. And how could they have it done so soon? But if you look back all the way to January when Chris Smith was talking about starting on that project, that's still a fairly significant amount of time to be working on it. And there has been a lot of concept sales between now and then, so they might not have been able to squeeze it in, yet development and production continued on the vehicle. And even this week we got an update from Sandy Gardner on some minor changes to the Dragonfly, though I assume they're nothing but minor superficial changes to the dashboard. The Dragonfly has evolved over the last year with 3.0, as 3.0 has been kind of brought forward, and they've been working on it. So the Dragonfly is probably, they've had to go back a number of times and probably make some changes to update the vehicle and better bring it into the 3.0 release, whereas the Xi'an Nox probably benefited from all those lessons all the way along through its production, and so it was more of a straight shot to the goal, whereas the Dragonfly was more meandering as it became realized as a playable vehicle in the game. Now, this week we also got a look at the brand new updated Aurora, which is apparently going to feature up to 14 new skins in the upcoming release of 3.1. Now, that ship, along with this ship, the Terrapin, are both, once again, scheduled for 3.1, so we're not going to be seeing them in the immediate future, but probably the non-too-distant future after 3.0 drops, and there's, I guess, a bit of a settling period where certain fixes and patches are going to be made, as, of course, with any big release, they generally do have to go back and make some changes after the fact. But the Terrapin is looking absolutely amazing, and probably one of the ships that I am beginning to look at a little bit more enviously as it kind of reaches its completion. Though, of course, always something I can buy in game later, so not that big of a deal. But yeah, it does look pretty damned amazing. It's too bad it doesn't carry a ground vehicle. Then it would be a 10 out of 10. Now, also this week, of course, is the Father's Day hot rod sale, which features the Misc Razor and the Origin M50. Now, of course, the Origin M50 is in game now, and the Misc Razor is another one of these ships that is slated for the 3.1 release. So not in the immediate future, but hopefully fairly soon, if you do purchase one of these ships, you will be able to fly it, hopefully before the year is out, maybe, fingers crossed. Unfortunately, we now get to the sad part of the news. The Aegis Reclaimer, the greatest ship in Star Citizen, has mysteriously dropped off of the 3.2 schedule for release. Now, the Aegis Reclaimer has held that spot for quite some time, but salvage is also not on that schedule anymore, so it is probably, even though we've seen a lot of forward motion in the artwork and in the design and the realization of the ship, it is probably the salvage system that is holding this ship back. And so whether or not they just omitted it from the schedule by accident, I don't know, but the Aegis Reclaimer is no longer spaced out for the 3.2 release, though on the production schedule, its completion date, its internal completion date, is still the 9th of September. Now, of course, all of this could simply be a mistake, an omission, but it probably means that this ship is going to be delayed a little bit and probably pushed into the 3.3 release later on, which is, you know, obviously for me particularly extremely disappointing. But conversely, if it does end up in the 3.3 release, then it actually may release the same time as the Anvil Hurricane. And the Anvil Hurricane, interestingly enough, with the 3.0 release, with the turret improvements that we're supposed to see, we might actually see a much more, you know, just a ship with much more potential than it originally seemed to be when it was sold. So the Anvil Hurricane might actually pull some redemption out of the 3.0 release, even though it's slated much further down, you know, down the chart for when it's going to be released. So this ship possibly could see some hope out of the 3.0 release if it does indeed release in 3.3, along with possibly the Reclaimer. So that's it for this. Hopefully this Reclaimer info ends up to just be an omission, fingers crossed, and we will indeed be seeing that ship in 3.2. Anyways, that's the show once again for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.